Hi, and welcome to this year's edition of Women in Tech powered by McKinsey and Company. My name is Sylvie, and together with Marie, I have organized this very unusual event. Due to COVID-19, it was a real challenge to organize this event, but we hope we've kept the gala feel with your reception boxes and your invitation cards. Due to the curfew, we've decided to skip the Q&A session that was planned after the keynotes. So after the keynotes, we'll just go over to the networking sessions on the platform where you can talk to the partners in the expo booths or to the speakers in their speaker meetups.
As you already know, you can win a voucher worth €100 of bol.com. The only thing that you need to do is take a picture of the content of your reception box and post this in your Instagram story. You also need to tag AFT_Leuven in it. Further, we want to say that the applications for the Mentor Coffee are still open until next Monday. So take your chance and upload your resume and your motivational letter. Arthur, I will now give the word to you, and we hope that you really enjoy the keynotes and the networking afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie and Sylvie. Hi everyone, my name is Arthur and I am president at Academics for Technology. So AFT is an organization built around technology and entrepreneurship, and we organize activities like workshops, events, business plan competitions, hackathons, and international startup trips. I'm very happy to welcome you here tonight virtually, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Women in Tech is an event that's really dear to us. So tonight we're celebrating diversity, and I said it before, I will say it again, diversity is important on all levels of our society. And there's a reason to celebrate. For example, let's look at AFT. So over the last couple of years, the amount of women in our team has grown significantly. 3 years ago, there were only three women out of 25 team members, and today we are 10 out of 26. And I'm really happy about that, because diversity not only improves technology, it also improves our organization. I'm happy to see this trend here, but I hope to see this trend everywhere around the world. Before we start, I would like to thank our partners, McKinsey, Kbc, Everest, and Accenture. Thank you for your trust in our organization, certainly during these difficult times. And thank you for supporting our organizers, Marie and Sylvie, to bring this wonderful event to life. So that's it for me. Now I would like to invite Iris on the stage. Iris is a representative of McKinsey and Company, and they are co-organizing this event. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
All right, this seems to work. Hello everyone. On behalf of McKinsey, I want to wish you all a very warm welcome to AFT's Women in Tech event. We are very happy to all see you here tonight. Also, McKinsey is very proud to be a partner of this event. We also value tech roles and people in tech very much, as well as women in tech, of course. Despite the unprecedented context, we are very happy to get to know you in this virtual, new, exciting setting. And we hope that you're all very inspired at the end of tonight to really pursue your own path and your own career in tech. Thank you already to the organizing team and AFT for what already looks like a really great event. So enjoy tonight. And let's kick off tonight with a short film of McKinsey.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's indeed unprecedented to do a speech for a room that is a little bit empty, but I hope all the people online actually are starting to enjoy a great evening. First of all, I want to thank AFT. I'm very impressed and always admiring the number of people that are actually helping to drive people into the STEM direction. And I think you all know what STEM means. And I think I'm specifically thrilled by tonight seeing that we do an effort to support women in technology. Obviously, I've been in technology myself throughout my whole career, and I've seen great evolution, but I don't think we are there yet. You all know that more than half of the university degrees today are actually held by women. Yeah. The big problem is that in the STEM direction, that is not yet the case. And I have some stats, but I don't have the stats from now, but they are like 18 months old, where we know that in the different European countries, the country with the highest number of female degrees in STEM is actually Bulgaria. And I'm telling this to you because I have a team of 200 people there. Very strong data scientists, data engineers, solution architects, developers, and all of that. Very strong. Now, you might not know it, but Belgium in Europe is actually the second country with number of females with a STEM degree. So we are at 36%, and I'm talking again, the figures are like 18 months old, so I hope evolution has proven better. But what is the important difference between what we see in Bulgaria with women is that almost all of the 38% actually land in very technology roles, whilst in Belgium, a lot of the tech people are still landing in roles that are less technology-driven. So I think if we want to make sure that from a European perspective, we close the gap we have with the two geopolitical powers, I would say, from the US and China, I think we still have a long way to go. So I'm very pleased that AFT is organizing something specifically for women, and what I'm even more pleased about is that I see quite a number of men in the organization here, because the issue of diversity, and even more so inclusion, because diversity is just about the numbers, believe me, but even more so about inclusion, is not just something women alone can tackle. So we need men on board to do that. Okay, so that's that, and now we're gonna move the slides. I think what I wanna talk about a little bit now is the journey of my career. That's the briefing I got, the journey of my career, and give you some lessons. And it's most probably gonna be a bit personal. That's why I say it's my journey. I think a career is experienced by everyone differently. You come from a different background, you have different desires, and you have different skills, different experiences, and people have actually their typical own journey as we talk about the career. So this is about mine, and my experience and my learnings. So I actually studied at university. And when I was in the last year, you know, the consulting firms like McKinsey and all the others were not that connected to the academics in that time. So people at the end of the studies, you know, you were writing 80, 90, 100 letters, and that was very evident. But we had a job fair as well. So typically, the bigger companies would come to a job fair, and then the students would meet with the companies. And actually, I met with KPMG Consulting, also in the consulting business, and I had, you know, I guess it was a bit chemistry, but I had a very good click with the company. And I thought if I go in consulting, then I have the chance to work in multiple organizations, I can learn different sectors. And you know, actually you work with, it's a bit privileged because you work with highly educated people. You might not realize, but it can be seriously different in other organizations. So I thought if I write all these letters, am I going to be invited? I'm not sure. So I took my courage in my hands and I actually knocked on the door of KPMG. I said, you know guys, I met you at the job fair. I just want to work here. And the assistant that opened the door for me, she said, you know what, you don't have an appointment, this is so not done. And I thought, okay, that's fine. And she said, but take a seat, maybe someone wants to talk to you. And I did 3 interviews in half a day. And the week after, I started at KPMG Management Consulting. So, and people afterwards, I'm still in touch actually with the partners from KPMG with whom I worked at that moment of time, and they're still stating like the way you came with your perseverance and you know the willingness to work with us, we just simply couldn't refuse you. So I think don't be afraid of doing things that are a bit controversial. It might not be like running in between the lines, but I think it's demonstrating some of the characteristics and some of the passions you have. So I think that was the first thing that was important in my journey. So I worked for KPMG, and then actually I went to Pricewaterhouse Consulting as well, but I quickly joined Coca-Cola. It was a time when there were all these big SAP implementations, and actually we were with a high number of people from KPMG and Pricewaterhouse leaving and all going to Coca-Cola. So I just celebrated my 25 years of service. That's not very modern, I know that, but it's an excellent company to work for, so I'm quite proud about that. I started in IT, and I've been 25 years in IT, but I had IT roles on the business side as well, so there was a bit of variation. But it's a very simple career, actually. I was a project manager, business analyst. I became IT director for Benelux, then Benelux France, Western Europe, etc. I took a European role as well, and in the meantime, I got married, and my husband actually, he's more on the commercial side, but also working in technology, and I have, I gave birth to 2 fantastic children as well. So I have a daughter and a son, both at the KL now, but they were definitely part of that journey. When I had the children, already a bit after they were 7 and 9, I think, I had the opportunity to work on an international program. So I'm not sure you know, the Coca-Cola company is actually a worldwide entity that makes syrup. We own the brands, and then we sell the syrup to our bottling partners. So in the world, we have like 250 bottling partners in a franchise agreement, out of which 10 are really big. They do 90% of the business, but then we have a lot smaller ones. And I didn't have really big international experience apart from Europe. I didn't have bottler experience, which is very important in our company. So I took the opportunity to work on that international program. And I spent half of my time for about 2 years in the Philippines, China, Australia, South Africa, Atlanta. That was kind of the tour I made on an ongoing basis. It's been very tough. The kids were small, but we arranged ourselves to make it happen, and it was a great experience as well. And I think I'm going to come later about some of the lessons I've learned through that experience. And then I came back and I became the CIO for Europe. That was about 2009. And about 3-4 years ago, I became the CIO for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which is quite a big territory. It's very interesting, actually, and I'm not sure to what extent you know, but working internationally, once you have taken a bit of taste of that, it's kind of difficult to come back to. So maybe a little bit on my role now. I guess we need to talk a bit about technology, right? It's not just about the journey, but what we have gone through within the Coca-Cola company is that we have centralized a lot of the technology back office functions, as we call it. So all the baseline network, collaboration tools, anything that is even finance systems, supply chain, and all of that is more and more centralized. And what we focus a lot more on in the field is more related to consumer marketing, digital marketing, targeted, personalized marketing, anything that relates with e-commerce, and learning, to do revenue growth management and all of that. So we have actually worked a lot with McKinsey all over the world, where we've built the capability and the algorithms to do revenue growth management and understand why consumers are switching from one product to another. We've also built algorithms that help us understand if we make changes to the price, and you all know price elasticity and all of these things, what the impact is on the sales for certain products in certain categories, in certain channels, etc. So all these algorithms, we have developed them together with McKinsey, but then we thought maybe it's better to build the knowledge in-house. So my team in Sofia has actually re-engineered the algorithms built by your company, but that was all in agreement. And now we are having the knowledge in the team in Bulgaria, and we're actually from there rolling out these things globally. So, and we have other examples of projects we do in advanced analytics around outlet segmentation. So when I talk about outlets, this is typically bars and restaurants. And what we're trying to do now is, instead of just taking historical information and classifying our customers in the gold and the silver and the bronze, we more look at the potential of the customers. So we are taking a lot more external data into the algorithms, and we're more going to outlets that help us understand what the potential is rather than the past sales. So very, very exciting, interesting programs we're doing. A lot of artificial intelligence, a lot of even machine learning. We have teams that are just working on streamlining data sets and trying to make sure that all the data we get, whether it's internally, externally, when there are brands mentioned, when Coca-Cola doesn't have the dash in the middle, etc., we're all making sure through algorithms and machine learning that we streamline data and that we don't have to intervene anymore in terms of cleansing and all of that. So big piece of work around advanced analytics, etc. Now, throughout my career, I've actually been responsible for the Women Leadership Council in Europe as well, and I represented Europe in the Global Council. And I think I want to quickly talk about that, because I think as we talk about women in tech, it's not just women in tech, but it will be women in leadership as well, I guess. I would hope that these women have the ambition to grow in a company as well. So we have done a lot of effort in the company, and actually the goal was that we would have 50% women, men at all levels by 2020. Now, we have not fully reached it, but we have moved the needle from 21 to 38% in 2018 when I was there, and we have moved it up to around 42%. So the targets are the targets. I know that people always talk about quota. Is that something you want to put in place? But clearly, when you have targets, you work around, you work towards the target, and you put actions in place that are going to help you achieve them. So the big programs we do from a women perspective, I don't think they are a big surprise. Some are very evident, but when we recruit, we are making sure that every recruitment process has a balanced pool of candidates and a balanced pool of interviewers. So the panel of interviewers is mixed 50-50, and the candidates are 50-50 as well. And in the beginning, it was extremely difficult when we did that, because what we noticed was that some people had a network of good candidates, and they said, I know the person, there is a man in the team, and he's been doing that for 3 years, let's take him, and then we don't have to do the interview process. And actually, the process goes very quickly, and as a line manager, it's fairly easy, because you don't have to cover for the gap you create in your organization for a long while. But now the teams are used to it. We have created very clear policies from an HR perspective, but we're making sure we have that balance right as we recruit women. So there is recruitment, and then we have development of women as well. Obviously, at Coke, we have actually very, very good leadership programs. We work a lot together with the big universities, with Harvard, and people that are high potentials are typically going to a very nice curriculum. And we're absolutely making sure that we are balancing the participation of these trainings extremely well, men, women, and you sometimes find more than 50% because we want to give it the extra push. And the other thing is we have specific programs for women in leadership as well, because we want to create a safe space where people can actually, talk about their situation and feel that they are being seriously looked after. Then obviously there is the whole way of making women advance as well. We have a very, very formal mentor program. And for the rest, when we have people development forums, as we call them, the meetings in which we discuss succession planning, career planning for all of these people, you know, the diversity plays a lot. And obviously, as you can imagine at Coke, diversity is not just gender. It goes far beyond that. And then we have the last one, obviously, is around retaining women. Lots of programs, and we're making sure that we assess retention risks very carefully and that we put incentives in place for women to stay as well. And we feel on the market, when we want to recruit women from other companies, we feel that other companies have very strong programs as well to retain women, and that the war for talent from that perspective is not that evident. So that's a bit my career, I would say. I thought for today that I would share more the things that I experienced throughout my career where I believe that helped me move forward. So I have what I call my golden rules, and I put again my, because I think they worked for me and they might not necessarily work for anyone. So the first one I want to talk about is motivational factors. What I thought was important for myself to understand is what truly motivates me in my career. When I drive home, obviously more difficult in COVID times, but when you drive home in the evening, can you spell out the exact 5 minutes of the day where you felt inspired, where you felt motivated, and what was happening then? And I'm always asking people when I have a career conversation, it's like, what do you want to do? And people go like, the next job, the next level, etc. But when you ask people, what do you really like to do? What are you passionate about? People are not always able to spell it out. So understanding what motivates you is going to help you drive your career. And what it means for me personally, it is, I really liked having, in the first place, impact on the team. So really coach the team and help grow the team around me. And the second piece is, if you deliver a piece of work, it needs to have impact on the business. If you do things that don't have impact, then the motivation is going quickly away. So I think my second one is actually connected to that. I've always been driving my career or driving my work, I would say, out of company interest. So I've always looked at, what do I need to do to help the company forward? What can I do to help the teams forward? And when you do that, actually, no one can blame you. You can make a mistake, you can trial things, you know, and when it's not the self-interest, you know, company interest is really much appreciated by management as well. But it's clear if you do so that you're naturally less promoting yourself. And I'm going to come back to the topic later. But you're more inclined to do a very good job, and then management will come to you and they say, you know, you've done a very good job. Shouldn't you take this as a next step, and don't you add that one, etc. So I think I've grown very naturally in my career. I've never been pushing my promotions, and it worked for me. But again, that is my situation, and I'm not necessarily stating that that is the one you need to follow. So the next one I put on self-promotion. And actually, I first put on humble self-promotion, but I think I don't want to tell you all have to be humble and all of that. I've been maybe a bit too much of that and not promoting myself, but I think it's important that you expose yourself to the right people so that when there are opportunities that you're actually well known. The other reason I'm putting it here is for a very practical one as well. I've been in multiple conversations where we had women on maternity leave, and as the time came by that they had to return to the company, everyone said, like, I haven't heard anything of her. She didn't say anything. You know, they're not interested anymore. So the only advice I'm giving you here is if you're absent for a while, is like, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks before you return, give a sign of life, demonstrate interest, and I think that's going to be a lot more helpful and good for your return. Then we're talking about personal development. So the first thing that I think is important is is take ownership of your development. And development is way beyond training. I think the people that have lots of experience in corporations will know that most of the development comes from on-the-job work and working with people and being very conscious of, you know, what you see happening around you. And so, you know, taking ownership and making sure that you continuously learn is crucial. And you know, you're all in technology, so learning in technology is even more important, I would say, than learning overall. Now, when we talk about personal development, the first item I want to talk about is role models. And I think maybe one of the purposes of the meeting here is to have role models. But I would encourage everyone to seek for role models in your day-to-day environment as well. And I've been very consciously watching, observing leaders for the good and the bad. Yeah. So I can exactly spell out the leaders I've had in the past that have done miracles with me. And you know, certain people, they get out so much of you that you can't believe it. And how can you then replicate that or mirror that and become a leader to other people as well? So these role models were very important for me. And you know, I had role models, men, women, gender doesn't play here. But I guess I'm more stating that being very mindful of how people are and very conscious is very important here. The other one is around critical experiences. When you want to develop, it's not all about learning new skills, but it's also building experiences. And therefore, you would see that many people that are moving well through their career, they make lots of lateral moves as well. So you become a true, what we call a T-shaped person, where you have, you know, the ability to be more holistic and have a general overview of things, but also have expertise in one specific area or more specific areas. And, you know, I spoke about the international program I went on. I didn't have bottler experience. I did not have international experience. And to gain that experience, I've stepped completely out of my comfort zone, to be honest, and I went on that international program. Yeah. The third one is around feedback. It's not just asking feedback, but doing something with feedback. And it's one of the things that is discussed a lot when we talk about people in our company. Asking for feedback, you know, when you follow leadership courses, there are all of these assessments you continuously do. You know, take everyone, because every time you learn something. But the art is to really, on a day-to-day basis, understand how people react to the things you say and learn to read in between the lines. And then think about, what have I learned today and what am I going to do with this? Comfort zone, very important. Stepping out of the comfort zone is what is getting noticed, clearly. And I've spoken about my international program. My kids were 7 and 9, was very complicated. I left Saturday evening to be in Australia, Monday morning, 8 a.m., and I left Friday evening over there, and I came back Saturday. So I didn't have a single weekend for 2 years and a half. But I think if I wanted to advance in the company and even to become a CIO, I knew that the international experience and the bottler experience was crucial. It was the only way to get there. But the one lesson I want to give to all of you, and I think we have many women here, I guess some have kids, others maybe not, when they propose to do a role that is really asking a lot personally as well, don't overthink everything. You know, you're in front of an opportunity, and all practical stuff can be sorted. So that's my big advice. It's not been easy, because actually as a woman, you take a lot with you when you travel, the swimming bags and all of that. You call from the Philippines at noon when it's morning to take the swimming bag. You take all of that with you, but it's still worth taking the opportunity. The other one is around nurturing the people around you. I think it's a personal passion for me. to really make sure that the people around you are growing. And people will outgrow you, and you need to accept that as well. So you will have people that will be stronger than you at a certain point in time, and they will grow. Actually, you can be proud if you do that. Because what I've seen a lot is that we have a lot of leaders that create followers, but there are not always a lot of leaders that are creating people that are ready to take over the leadership. Okay, internal and external networks, extremely important as well. Internal networks, clearly, because it's giving exposure to people, and then you're known at the opportunity. External networks are important as well. I had the CIO of the Year title. I was reporting as a CIO to the finance director, and actually, with my CIO of the Year title, what happened was that I was directly taken in the executive committee. So it had a nice ripple effect, internal and external. Okay, so life balance. I'm not sure I need to talk about balancing life. Balance is different for everyone again. And I guess that one of the things I had to let go was perfection. So it's extremely important that you take the quality time required and that you make sure that you have the help you needed. And actually, I've been very, very happy, very lucky, I would say. My husband has helped a lot, and we have been, managing our dual career throughout the time. The last one is around building resilience, and that has to do with dealing with change in the company as well. I've gone through many restructurings. Actually, we're going through a big one again now, and you need to build the resilience. And I guess the reason I'm putting it on a slide here as well is not just to go through the company change, but one of the big things I have underestimated actually was to take care of myself. And I think it's important for everyone here, to think about health. I had a serious health issue in 2017, and I'm lucky that everything went well. But one of the things I'm doing now is really making sure I do my meditation every day, I do my yoga every day, I run 5 times a week, but I do things for myself. And I must admit, I have done that far too late. But I encourage you to not let go these things and think about yourself. Okay, so and then the last one is around authenticity. I think make sure you remain yourself. It's not because you work in a world, maybe a male world, that you have to change. Remain yourself. That is something I can advise you. So the last thing I have to tell you is that I'm wishing all of you lots of success. And the one thing you need to know is that success is not gonna make you happy. It's more the opposite. So happiness is actually driving success. So, and then the last thing I'm asking as women amongst each other, we need to support each other to go through that journey. So thank you. That was me, my journey, and my lessons throughout my career. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Yes. Hi, I'm Iris. I'm from Antwerp, and I'm a consultant at McKinsey. Let me tell you a bit more about myself as well and how I got here. I actually always thought that I wanted to become a doctor. It just seemed like a really interesting career. But then when I actually had to make the decision when I was 18, I was kind of afraid of choosing one profession for the rest of my life. I remember asking my dad, like, what if I'm 40 years old and I'm tired of being a doctor? So I guess I just wanted flexibility and the option to move with my interests. And so that's how I fell in love with studying business engineering in management information systems. It was a perfect variety of courses, some technology-related courses, business courses, and many other types of courses. So it was a perfect melting pot, providing great options afterwards. And it was during my final year that we had a semester-long project with Accenture, where we had to develop the bank of the future. And it was then that I came in touch with customer analytics, and I started reading about how customer data can be used for a variety of use cases, from marketing and lead generation to risk management. And it really caught my attention. I started reading more about it and finding out how mathematics and statistics are at the basis of this, and I just dove in. Like, this was really interesting to me. So I decided to pursue another degree at University College London, and the degree was called Web Science and Big Data Analytics. And this degree was actually in the computer science department. So suddenly I was surrounded with other students who had bachelors in computer science, whereas I did not really. So I had to catch up really quickly in terms of programming languages and computer science basics that I didn't really have. I remember in the first semester, really early on, we had a programming assignment in C++, and I had never used that before. And I couldn't even access the data that we had to use. So I was asking everyone. I was asking friends, I was asking the assistant for help, I was Googling everything. Like literally, I was on Wikipedia that whole year. So I had to learn a lot very fast, just by myself, quickly. And that really taught me a lot about just being resourceful and catching up on knowledge and things that you think are interesting. So after my degree in London, I wanted to pursue further this mix of technology and analytics, but also figure out more about how it can be used in practice and for businesses. So I was looking for a job that could combine the two. And I was applying for multiple roles, but couldn't really find what I was looking for. So I did what I had learned the year before. I just Googled. And one day I bumped into this profile of a professor at Verde Business School who was doing really interesting research. He was combining analytics for customer relationship management. So really the analytics with the business that I was looking for. So I just emailed him. I said, hi, this is me, this is my background, and I'm looking for this kind of job. Do you have any advice for me? And I was hoping that he would refer me to maybe a cool company that he was working with. But he emailed me back and he said, I'm actually looking for a researcher. Do you want to have a conversation about a PhD opportunity? That was really not my plan, like not at all. But I decided to give it a go. I talked to him and it sounded really, really interesting. So I just dove in headfirst. I found myself reading academic literature about all kinds of models that are used and really writing many grant proposals for PhD funding. So during my PhD, I used machine learning models and econometrical models for referral marketing, figuring out how referral marketing works and how it can be even improved. But even early on in my PhD, I knew I wanted more out of this experience. So again, I was reading everything online, looking through other profiles and other research that has been done. And I bumped into these profiles of 2 professors in the US that did really cool, interesting research. So long story short, I spent a bit more than a year in the US working as a visiting scholar with these professors. And again, I spent really many hours on Wikipedia. I had to catch up a lot on basic, like really advanced statistical models that I didn't know yet. But it was a great experience. I loved it a lot. I learned so much. Throughout my PhD, actually, I was often one of the very few women in the room. I did conferences, and also there, very few women. And in my research group in Ghent, I was the only woman, actually. And I once emailed a female researcher at Microsoft Research in New York, who I thought did really great, interesting research. And she emailed me back saying that it was a challenge for her as well. And she told me to read a very interesting book, The Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. And she said that she hoped that it would change in the foreseeable future with more women entering the tech space. And I couldn't agree more with her. I think women really bring a different perspective than men often. In my research, for example, I was really trying to bring this social value or social lens to the research, not just looking at how can we make models predict better, but really looking for what can we do with this, where can we really use this. And when I graduated from my PhD, I was again looking for this balance between using models and technology and what can we do with it. So I learned about McKinsey. I learned about the different types of projects that they do, the global projects, technology-related projects, but also non-technology-related projects. And I was very excited from the start, so I gave it a go. I think this flexibility and variety is really something that I look for. So I joined McKinsey in September last year, and I've done many projects since. As you can see here, some of the projects I did, a digital marketing project for a chemicals company, an integration in pharma, process optimization in banking, a due diligence for a software company, and now I'm staffed on a marketing analytics project in pharma. In terms of trainings, I feel like I've also been focusing a lot on the digital and analytics trainings. We have many of those, so I'm really excited to explore our trainings there. And I've also attended our women's event, connecting women across our office, which I always value a lot. And in my current project, I'm in a translator role. And honestly, this role was really my dream role when I applied at McKinsey. It means that you're linking between the business and the data scientists. So you're actually taking business requirements and translating those to the data scientists, and then taking the model performance and model outputs and translating it back to the business in insights. So my last two projects, as you can see, have been a bit more in the tech space. And now in my translator role, we also work with Quantum Black. This is a department that really focuses a lot on analytics, engineering, AI. And people I work with now have roles like machine learning engineer, data scientist, agile coach, scrum master, and many more. So it's really cool to work with these people that have so much variety in expertise and in their background. It really brings a great team atmosphere and dynamic, and we can build great products for clients. Another option also is, next to all these specialist tech roles for people with really more specialist roles, I'm a generalist, so I'm a consultant, a translator, and I can affiliate with a digital or analytics practice, so really focus more on these types of projects now that I have done a variety of other types of projects, and I can bring that experience to my tech projects. So that has been my experience so far, and a bit of what I enjoy and what I think is useful. So what's the takeaway now of my story? Well, I would really say follow that interest that you have. Really follow those little bits of curiosity. Read those articles, Google those things that you think might even be a little bit interesting to you. And also just email those people that you look up to, that you think do really great work. That's how I managed my computer science degree without a computer science background, how I created my PhD opportunity, I would say, and the opportunity to go to the US. So really don't hesitate. You never know how much you can learn, how much you can build your network and experience great things. Thank you very much.
For the inspiring keynote. Next speaker is Caroline de Vos, founding partner and CEO. Enjoy.
Hello, it's working. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks again to AFT to give me the opportunity to stand here in front of you. Even though the room is a little bit empty, I know that virtually it's very full. And I would like to start with something regarding women. If you are listening to us tonight, it probably means that you already have made a choice. You already made the choice to be in this world which seems to be man-driven, but it's not. You need to be, if you made the choice, I'm already very proud of you that you decided to do this step and that you were not afraid. I'm sure you're not going to go back, and for sure when you are listening to our stories, you will see that you may believe in yourself. And that probably is for me the most important thing that I want to give to you tonight. Believe in yourself. That's the most important step that you have to do. I'm gonna tell you my story. A little bit like my two previous colleagues, or yeah, I think we can talk about this. I would like you to remember 3 words starting with a D. D from dream. You need to believe in yourself, you need to believe in what you want to do, you need to have a dream. The second D is for drive. This dream needs to be your drive. It's gonna be like the red line through all your career, through all your choices, through your life. And the third one is D of development. Of course, like we heard already from Sabine, no, you don't come out of studies, you don't come out of university being the person that you will be within 5 years, or within 10 years, or within 20 years. You will face a lot of things. Private stuff at work, everything will influence you and will influence again your dream and your drivers and your development. So this is a continuous circle. This is your life and you own your life. We talked already about ownership of goals. Your goal is your life. For me, this is what has been driving me, and I'm still following it. Maybe my speech is going to be a little bit different because it is going to be very much centered on the person. I will start by telling you how I got to understand that this is a very important factor when you make choices. So when I was a kid, I never played with dolls, never. Although the holy man always brought me dolls. No, I didn't play with the dolls. They were for my sister, and I played with space Lego. Why? I don't know. My father was a banker. My mother was also in the bank sector. So, I don't know, I wanted to be an astronaut. Since I was a kid, I always had a dream. I wanted to be an astronaut. That's very simple. So, nobody could talk about something else. No, I heard also Sabine said, I didn't have a lot of international experience at the beginning. I didn't, but I grew up in a family of two cultures, two nationalities, Belgian, Austrian. It's still Europe, but at the time, right now it's a little bit more similar, but at the time, and I speak about over 40 years, it was quite a difference. My mother, she was coming from the mountains. Really, she was a mountain goat. My uncles were mountain guides. So, you know, there was this culture really nature-driven. My father was like a lawyer in Belgium, in Brussels. Also, if you look at my background from Belgium, my grandparents from Belgium, they're all over Belgium. I don't know where, but somehow it needed to be in the center, it was Brussels. So I grew up in Brussels with this double culture. And this is something that always has been influencing my choices as well. We had this culture of being very flexible, not attached to cultures, not attached to rules, to common sense, really, of a particular region. We were always very triggered by our culture, our family, to be open to things that are a little bit different than the neighbor. So that helped me also to be confident with the choices I was going to do. So, somehow we were also forced. In the beginning, I thought like, oh, we need again to do something special. Our parents, they took us everywhere. We were climbing, we were sailing, we were skiing, we were doing completely different stuff. And this somehow awakened a little bit the curiosity. We never were afraid, and this is something I want to give to you as well. Don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to open your mind to new things. If something attracts you, follow your instincts. Go behind these ideas, like we had, for example, from Iris, I guess. Yeah, you had this instinct. This seems interesting. Follow it. And go. Don't be afraid of doing it, right? In fact, that's what I always did. I wanted to be an astronaut, so I was not afraid when I was 15 years old to go all alone with my suitcase in a big plane flying to the US. All alone and going over there to follow this astronaut training that was organized in '92, so now I can count my age. If you have been listening, in '92 there was this International Space Year, and kids from all over the world could come there in order to have an astronaut training. And I did it. I really, really wanted to do it, and somehow, by talking to the right people at the right moment, because I was driven by that, my parents never said, don't do it, this is crazy, you are a girl. No, they just helped me and they said, okay, if you want to go, then you go. So I left and I did this training. At the end, because I was always driven by that dream, so we have already the 2 Ds, I decided to study things that would give me the cards that were needed in order to become an astronaut. Well, I decided, no, I had not a lot of choice because there is not really an education foreseen to become astronaut. I first started with physics in Brussels at the ULB. Then I did at ULG in Liège, we're saying in English, I guess, yeah. Like a second master in aerospace engineering. And after that, I went to the International Space University, which is a private university doing an MBA in space industry. And that's a great university. That's fantastic, great experience, international experience, because it's a university that is moving every year in another country. And there are 80 people selected all around the world to go and follow the courses there, and you really learn to work together on projects with 80 different cultures around the table. So that was, for me, my international experience. From there on, well, if you already get there somehow, well, you have the McKinsey of the space industry. Of course, I'm talking about a niche market, a niche domain where, anyway, we don't speak only about women, but only about people generally. There are not a lot of people. So I could have the opportunity to work at the European Space Agency. And I started to work at the European Space Agency. And somehow I was getting closer and closer and closer and closer. You all know that I have not been astronaut because you don't know me as an astronaut. You would have seen it on the TV. So I didn't get there at the end, but I'm happy. And that's important to understand what happened. So I worked at the European Space Agency and I was selected as candidate astronaut. So, very interesting. What does that mean? That's not a job. It's not a job. What it means is that you need to be super fit mentally and physically. So we were training, running a lot, doing a lot of sports, triathlon, blah, 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 and all these things, and you needed to be really like super sharp. Also, you need to be super sharp mentally, right? You needed to still know all this stuff that I have learned, honestly, a lot of things. And I'm sorry to say that to students, but a lot of things I've learned just by heart, just to have this thing in my hands because I needed it. So I was really driven. I needed to study. I needed to know all these formulas of 10 pages. All behind it. I mean, it was crazy stuff, and I still cannot understand how could I ever manage to put all these things in my head. Do I still know them today? No, but very important. Do I use them? No, but I know where to go and get there, and I know how to understand them. So that's very important. You are not sitting here at the university in order to study things that you will not use. You will learn how to understand them and where to find them when you need it. And that's very important, also for students. Well, so I was at the European Space Agency, training, doing a lot of work in order to see if I was still sharp. And in the meantime, you also need to produce stuff, because of course an agency is not going to pay you for doing nothing. So I was working on projects, very interesting projects, projects to put people on Mars. So I was the architect, the engineer. I was creative. I was discussing how are we going to organize it? Who are we going to send? Are we going to send only men, only women, families? Because, you know, a journey is 1,000 days. So how are we going to do if someone is sick? Are we going to make a cabin for everybody? Are we going to share a room and we do rotation and shifts? So we were speaking a lot about things. I was always the kind of aggregator. I was the aggregator of ideas. I was a little bit like you said, the translator. I was translating the ideas of scientists into designs of engineers. Very, very interesting job. But it was like here. It was somewhere not tangible. I couldn't have it in my hands. And 15 years ago, there was a big, for me, a very difficult period in 2003, because there were new rules for the astronauts. Every astronaut that was candidate, and whoever flew, needed to stay for 20 years. And of course, the quota of astronauts within the European Space Agency was proportional. It was not really related to women and men, luckily, but it was proportional to the investment of a country within the agency. Belgium and Austria, because I had the two nationalities, were small countries, but good investors, but still, there was no room for me unless I would have waited until I would have been 49. So imagine, in the meantime, I would have been sitting behind a computer, which is nice, doing projects like the mission to Mars, waiting for something that most probably would not have happened. because by then, 49, of course I would have had other things in my life, kids, other opportunities. Maybe I would have forgotten all these formulas of 10 pages. Maybe I wouldn't be as sharp as possible. And I was very much afraid that my life would go, and that I would not have reached my dream. So this is something that was like not conceivable. So I made a very hard decision, and I quit the position of a candidate astronaut. And that was a very, very difficult decision for several reasons. And when I told you in the beginning, it's going to be a human speech. It was difficult because, for example, my father, who always supported me, he always said to me, mon astronaute, mon cosmonaute, blah, blah, blah. That's how he called me. Suddenly, I lost that identity. I also lost that identity at the time because my grandfather, from Austria, he also always supported me. He was a pilot at the time, not on the right side during the war, but okay. He knew about planes and flying, and I also knew how to fly. And he also always was very proud of me, and at the end of his life, he was saying, look at me, I'm eating the food of an astronaut. So it was very, very much as a person, it was super hard. I lost my identity. I decided to leave. And I decided to leave so much that I completely left also the European Space Agency. And I also did not have a lot of support from my parents. Well, of course I had support of my parents. They always loved me, and they always love me now. But somehow they were a little bit disappointed as well. They said like, oh, what do we need to say now? Our daughter, she has 3 diplomas, university diplomas, and now what is she doing? And you know what I was going to do? What I did? I went to the mountains and I became a mountain guide. So in order to pay for this mountain guide courses, I gave ski lessons. So coming from an astronaut trainee to a mountain guide, you would say, this is completely crazy. What is she doing? Somehow, well, for me, it's exactly the same. This huge explosion in my life, this huge explosion in my identity, it was clearly an identity crisis. And I heard from a lot of people, you are an outsider, you are alternative, and whatever. That they may think whatever they wanted, but it was for me a moment where I said, okay, but why have I been doing this all the time? Why have I been following that dream? What was the driver? What was really the driver? I'm back to the D, right? My dream was to be astronaut. Was that really my dream? No. What was the drive? And I understood by doing a lot of courses, like, you know, all these courses that we receive also as managers, to understand who you are. The driver was, in fact, that I wanted to explore. And this is what I've been doing for the rest of my life. I wanted to explore things. I wanted to be the first. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And somehow, this is what I understood. What I understood is that I wanted to be the person that I wanted to be the boss of my own life, the boss of my own decisions, or the boss of my own career. So I did this thing about mountain guiding. I guided several expeditions in Nepal, and so it was very fun, but somehow I missed again the intellectual aspect. So I came back to Belgium after all these things, and I know I also have to shorten my speech. And I created my own company, which is a management company, which is myself, and it's called Another Way, Dream It, Plan It, Live It. And so really this is my motto. So Another Way, that's myself. But with this company, I've been doing several things, like continuing to do expeditions, but also to do market research, still for the European Space Agency. And from one of these market researches, I created a company which is still now, well, the main activity I'm doing now, which is SAT ADSL, and it's a company that is providing internet via satellite worldwide. And we provide satellite connectivity to countries. In the beginning, we did it only in Africa. Now we are also in Latin America, Asia, Middle East. It's allowing people that have no mobile phones, no fiber, to have this connectivity to do their businesses and to extend the businesses that they're doing in cities, in small villages, like, for example, small banks, or even a project that really is my project, as the only woman in the company, where we are now 25 people. It is a project where we offer tele-schooling in Ghana. So we have equipped 25 schools with the antenna, and we are, there is one professor in a studio in Accra who is filmed, and lessons are broadcasted in the different villages in the jungle. It's really the jungle and the desert. So that's a really, really nice project. It's a company which is driven by 4 explorers. One of them is myself. I'm, I would say, the only woman, but we are now, not because we want to or not because we have put this as a rule, but we are recruiting more and more women in ICT. So we see, as we heard this morning, more and more women in ICT coming, doing networking, IP connectivities, developments, and this is something that really makes me happy, because I feel, and somehow, even though we don't speak about this, because we know it, we know already it is a man's world and it is hard, because sometimes they only, well, I just give one example and I'm going to finish. When I'm on a fair, it is true, yeah, it's a fair, it's a men's world, and you have a lot of people that just come to me and say, oh, may I have a coffee, please? And I'm like, come on. In the beginning, it was really disturbing. It annoyed me. And I said, okay, get over it. And I go over it, I give the coffee. Just, you know why? Because, in fact, this is also being a woman. We like it to be neat, we like to be polite, we like it to be nice as well. And this is also something which is important, that makes also the difference. You are not only, as a woman, you are not only smart and doing what you want and following your dreams or having the drive, but you also have the assets to do something different. I heard the story about the swimming bags. I have exactly the same. You are and at the show and talking business and talking money, but in the meantime, you're also organizing the Excel sheets at home with all the tasks that need to be followed. And this is clearly something, an extra asset, an extra, I would say, it's really a strength that women have in this world. So, yeah, I would like maybe to stop here with one slide, because I really get a lot of stress from the timing. I would like to come back to the drive. Have a dream, have a drive, follow it, and continuously develop yourself. Develop always with one goal in mind, being yourself, believing in yourself. If you have kids, they fit perfectly in your life. You are strong enough to do that, to follow your dreams. They will adapt. And by seeing you being strong, they will become strong. So you are the example. But the most important thing is that you need to be self-confident and knowing what you do, why you do it, and how you do it. So I would say that's the summary of my story. I wish you a lot of success, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Caroline, for your very exciting talk. Next up is Sophie Leconte, CEO of Everest Belux. Enjoy.
Hello, hello everybody, good evening. Thank you to invite me today in this event. I'm very happy to be here and very honored to be here also, especially surrounded by so many beautiful and powerful women. So thank you for that. I want to share also my story. So it's another story. And I want to start the story some time ago. Some time ago, I was like you. I was 33 years old, and I was about to start a very big journey, and I was very excited. I had a lot of expectations, and I felt full of energy and full of curiosity. I did have some things in my backpack, as you have, and that's always good to start with a backpack. So what I had studies in business administration, a master in management in Paris at the ESCP. I had already explored a bit beyond France, so I did an Erasmus in Germany. I had some student social life. I was part of a club. I was the president of the international committee of my business school, and I was very proud of that, organizing activities for the foreigners. I had already studied languages, and I had a short experience in an NGO in Africa. But I wanted, with that backpack, to go very far, very, very far away. Talking about role model, I was thinking of that preparing this speech. Actually, didn't have so many role model from women in my circle, because in my family, I had people working in public administration, which is not the path I have chosen, or I had doctors, which is not the path I had chosen, but I did some internship, and there I met in Germany Frau Heller. I was doing an internship at Yves Rocher at the time, and she was a very good mentor for me. She impressed me as a boss of a big department. I really liked how she drove her team, and she was very close to me also. She gave me some very good advice. So with that in my back, I had also my values, and I think we all have our values, and values take a big role in the choices we do, and maybe more and more, years after years. So my value at the time, and still today, I have to say, was integrity was very important for me, to work in a world with integrity, diversity. I didn't want to be stuck in a box with people all alike. It was very important for me to be surrounded by people very different. Humor. We have so much humor when we are students, and sometimes we feel that maybe the working life is not so funny, but it is actually. So it's good to look for humor in your working life. And I was also working for meritocracy. I was a bit afraid not to find fairness, not to be recognized for my real value. So when I talk to companies, to possible employers, I also looked very clearly at that. Are there mechanisms? Is there a philosophy of meritocracy and fairness? And then I had my aspirations. I knew that I wanted a career, that my professional life was to be important for me. I wanted to realize myself professionally. I had very clear I wanted to go internationally. I wanted a job where teamwork was the base. And I wanted no routine, so a job that allows me to change, to explore different industries, different sectors, different type of work, and not a too rigid environment. I'm not at ease in a very rigid environment, and that was already the case. So I started. And this is a bit my professional development. So I started as a consultant at Roland Berger Strategy Consultancy. I started at the Paris office when the firm was still very small in France, only 12 people when I joined the team, 60 where I left. And after 3 years at Roland Berger, full of interesting projects in different industries, I wanted to go beyond France and to acquire international experience as consultant. I really felt in love with consultancy. So I had the opportunity to go to Argentina with another consultancy, much more focused, let's say, on big program of operational performance, a French consultancy. So I went to Argentina. I was based in Argentina and working in Argentina and Brazil for almost 3 years. And then I thought, it's good, but I would like to pursue my consulting career in Europe. So with the same firm, I had the opportunity to come back. I came back to Spain, working in Spain, in Portugal. I was manager at the time in 2001. And then what I could already feel is that management consultancy was more and more influenced by the changes in technology. I didn't have a tech background, but I could feel that technology is too much everywhere. So even for supporting the transformation in big companies, we need to be close to technology. We need to have in the teams people who connect very well to the changes in technology and IT. So I wanted to change a bit the type of consultancy. And then I entered Everis. So I didn't know the company. The thing is, I came a bit across by chance in Barcelona, but I had a very, very good fit with the people with whom I had the interviews. So I was really impressed by the passion of these people. It was at that time a very big startup, let's say, 2,000 people in the world at that time, but with the project to grow very, very fast. So I made my career. I joined at the moment they were developing a line called business consultancy, so more fitting with my profile. And I evolved. I made my career as manager, senior manager, director, and I became the partner in charge of this line at the Barcelona office. And then I thought, it's good. I'm a partner, you know, in consultancy. You know that it's a big step in your career to become a partner. There are not so many women in partner, nor at Everis, I can tell you, but more and more, but not that many. So I thought it's good, but maybe I should try to do something similar, but in another space. And to build from scratch the team. So that's how I came to Belgium. I arrived in 2014 to build up the unit business consulting at the Brussels office, which was at the time a young office, only 4 years of existence, but growing very fast and with a plan to grow. And so I did that role until my role today, a different role, because since 2017 I am the CEO of Belgium and Luxembourg for all the activities we have here. So that is my professional journey. That's what you see from me on LinkedIn. But that's not me, because in a journey you have the professional side, what you see from outside, and you have also the personal side, which has a strong influence on your journey. So now I am going to tell you the personal side. At some point, 98, I met my husband, Argentinian, and that drove me to Argentina. In 2000, I was in Argentina, and we were already foreseeing a very big economic crisis that arrived 6 months later when we were already in Spain. In 2002, we became parents. a very big change. We had to start thinking and exploring, sometimes negotiating, how to organize our professional life also with the children. At that moment, my husband made a very good career move, and that had also an impact. 2004, 2005, very, very complicated years for us as a young family. I was traveling a lot. I had my first year in Everest, a very nice project, a merger, post-merger integration in the north of Europe. So I was traveling a lot with a kid of 2 years old. And my husband had the good idea to start studying a part-time MBA. So I was traveling during the week, and during the weekend he was in his MBA, so a lot of tension at home. And then came the second daughter, so life even more complicated. And it's not only family, it's also what is happening outside now. In Spain, 2010, 2012, very big financial crisis, economic crisis, a lot of tension in my sector, in my industry, a lot of tension on the results, a lot of tension because friends around us are losing their job or changing the jobs. In 2014, my husband wasn't feeling so motivated, a bit frustrated in his job with no perspective to grow. And we were thinking that maybe it would be good to have an international family experience. 2015, 2020, we are parents of teenagers. I'm highlighting that because I think we talk a lot about the challenge to have young children, but when you come to the phase of your life that your children are teenagers, it's another moment of your life you have to pay attention and be close to them. And this year, my elder daughter is leaving home. So why am I sharing that? Because actually, it's important for me. So my personal life is important for me, and for sure it will be for you. And when we talk about professional development and career, we talk also how to combine with the professional life. And we talk how to reconcile aspirations, context, economic context also, and opportunities. And that's a bit what happened to me. So if you make the full picture, you see that there are clear convergence. Of course, I went to Argentina to be with my husband. Of course, when we saw that the economic environment was getting tougher and we were thinking of a family, we tried to sort out our options. What was the best? What did we want in life? And you can replicate a bit these conversations in different moments. So I was lucky enough to have found, in my case, a company where I could do several moves. But well, sometimes you don't have them in your own organization and you have to look outside. Okay. And again, when we came to Belgium, again, we had a discussion, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? What are you going to do? So this is something I wanted also to share with you. So my takeaway after all this is probably very in line with what some of my colleagues have said before. I think it's absolutely important that you feel always yourself in your work and in the organization you're working for. And it's especially relevant, I think, the values and the culture of the organization you're in. The content of the job is important, but also that you feel at ease with your environment is very important. At some point of my career, I changed the company also because I didn't feel at ease with the values of the company. I think it's very important, and you have said that before very well, never lose curiosity, seek new learning process, new learning spaces. I think it's a bit a question of the right tension, no? We should be in tension because we want to learn, we want to discover, we feel a bit challenged, you know, to reach our objectives. Not too much tension, but we have to move out our comfort zone. Otherwise, we don't progress and we don't feel satisfied. It's important to take care of your health also, because what I'm explaining right now, it's not a short-term move. It's a move of more than 20 years. So the trip is long, and the trip is sometimes tiring at some points. So it's good to have the good health, the physical health, and the mental health to recharge batteries. Another point I wanted to share with you is don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes I think, especially women, we feel we have to make it anyway. We have to fulfill our objectives by our own, and it's a very bad habit. It's good to ask for help. I would like to insist on the mentors. Some big companies, the consultancy company, usually provide you with a mentor in your career, and it's very useful. You don't have to use that. Look around you, because at many moments of your life when you feel a conflict or you feel you're not progressing enough of your career, you don't have the right lever, you don't know how to solve a situation, talking to somebody with 5-10 years experience more is very, very useful, and people are very happy to give advice. Build and maintain your network. That has been said to also, but your network of today are your opportunities for tomorrow. And keep in touch with the world and the evolution, the economic evolution. You may work in a field that would not be so actual 10 years later. So think about that. And reflect on your purpose, as you did, on your motivation, on your options to feel really at ease with yourself. So really, today, you are at the beginning of the journey. I think you have a lot in your backpack. You have the studies very well connected with what the world needs. So don't subestimate, go for it, take your dream, drive on it, as has been said before, and go for it. And that's all for me. I wish you very good luck on your journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophie, for this beautiful keynote. Next speaker is Ellen Lemaire, Digital Transformation and Strategy Advisor at Kbc.
Good evening. My name is indeed Ellen Lemaire, working for KBC as Digital Transformation and Strategy Advisor. And thank you to invite me. It's a little bit weird because I maybe feel a little bit different than the others. I didn't know that I wanted to become an astronaut when I was young. To be honest, at my 18th, I didn't know what I wanted to study at all. So my choice was to opt for something with many options, which is applied economics. So I studied here, also in this auditorium. I followed courses, so it's also a little bit weird to stay here, to stand here now today, but nevertheless, I'm happy to share with you my professional journey. On the slide, you will see that I'm 34 years old. I have no kids yet. And I love to do a lot of things which are unfortunately not possible anymore now. For instance, traveling, of course. This is a picture that I took in Peru last year, 1 year ago, in the Colored Mountains. And I thought, like, okay, that's also a journey. But today is about my professional journey. And I already explained to you that I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, so I studied economics, that I told you. But to be honest, the first year that I started, I told my mom, to be honest, it's a little bit boring. I don't really like it, but I continued and I passed the exams. In the end, I also passed the whole study. And yeah, around Easter, so just before the final exams, I was contacted by Deloitte, you know, the big firm with the minis and the green with the green dots. You cannot see the slides, but I'm just explaining also to the people here what is on the screen. And I was thinking, you know what, I will just go and do the tests. Most likely that will be nothing for me really to become a consultant. I was doubting also a little bit whether it would be a fit for me to work for Deloitte. But I said, whatever, I will do the tests and I'll see where I get. And after a full day of tests, because that's how it goes in those kind of firms, I received a message that I passed and that I could sign up for the job. So I decided, okay, let's do that, because when you study applied economics, they say applied, but that's a tourist trap, as you might think, because there is no really internship included within it. At least that was not the case when I studied it some years ago. So I thought, like, that's perfect, because it's like an internship, and I will start and learn some basic skills. So let's do it. And I studied also in the minors and the majors, as it was called. Like, I studied applied economics with psychology as a specialty, and also marketing, and also strategy. So everything without finance, because I think finance will be too boring for me. So I studied business strategy, and that's what, I will go to Deloitte, and then I will do the strategy stuff, right? So that's what you think when you start for work, that you will do what you like with all the big firms and the different clients you can work for. But then I arrived at Deloitte, and the first thing we had to do was to go to the SAP University to have to get some, how do you say, to pass some exams, and then to start working with also indeed big clients, and to install the SAP ERP systems over there, which was also fun, but it was not my choice, and that's a little bit of my character. If it's not my own choice, I don't like it so much. After all, I should have done that maybe with more enthusiasm, because in the end it was not so bad, but it was not my choice. I did it for 2.5 years, but I thought, that's not really it. It was not what I wanted to do. Now, I was really thinking, okay, what should I do? What should I do? And my dad, he's an architect, my brother in the meantime as well. But my mother told me, you can study whatever you want, but you will not become an architect, because you will have to work too hard. So I was maybe a little bit naive at the time. My brother is younger than I. And so when I chose my study, it was not an option to become an architect, because my mother said, don't do it. Okay, my brother did it, and the first reaction I had was it was not allowed to do it, but okay, he did it, so I'm glad for him. And during evening schools, I went to the university in Hasselt, which was quite a long drive every week, but I studied real estate in the evening. I really liked it, it's really interesting. And this is how I arrived within KBC. I started within KBC Real Estate, and I became relationship manager within finance. You know, the finance, I thought that would be boring. I now work within a bank, but I can tell you it's not boring at all. It's really interesting. But I started as a relationship manager within real estate, and what did I do there? I financed shopping centers in Central Europe. It's cool, right? Shopping centers for a girl. I thought it was really nice. And I also liked the job really a lot. I did it for 4 years. But unfortunately, at that time when I was there, KBC decided to change the strategy and to stop the Eastern European branch. So we had to downscope. But at the time, I think I was 24, I told my boss, I'm way too young to stop a business. I want to build up a business. Something with energy, something nice, something new. That was always the thing. I wanted to do something new with new energy. So I was following a trend at a time, which is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding was at a time very new, and by accident I discovered that within KBC we would start up Bolero crowdfunding. So it was just some intro that I read on intranet within KBC, and I just contacted those people and asked, you know what, I'm really interested to work for Bolero crowdfunding and to do that. There was not even a place, there was no vacancy at the time. I just asked the CEO of Bolero at the time whether I could start with them, and half an hour later I had the job. So that went really fast. And I was so excited. I still remember it. I went to the other desk where I worked at the time to tell my colleagues, I have a new job, it's really excited. So it was really nice. And I started to do it. I co-founded the Bolero crowdfunding platform within KBC together with very nice colleagues. And at the time I thought, this is really the coolest job in the world, because we saw a lot of startups every day. So I met a lot of startups. They are all busy with innovation. And I guess this was the point where I thought, cool, some innovation, some technology, this is really what drives me. So crowdfunding, for the people that don't know it, it's financing your business by the crowd, as the word says. So it's not that difficult. And we do it through a platform. I built the platform myself, so I wrote even the business requirements, etc. So that's a little bit of IT, right? But it was really, really fun, and I saw a lot of startups. I even became co-author of a book, the first book in Belgium on crowdfunding. It was not really my idea, it was the idea of Bart van Haren, the CEO of Bolero, that I met when I started there. He was so passionate about his job. He could motivate me, he could motivate the team. It's really nice to work for someone like that. And I still remember the day that he arrived in the office and that he told me, Ellen, I will write a book on crowdfunding together with Omar Mohut. And I thought, like, what the heck? I think this must be his midlife crisis. At the time, I was not at all suspected to become a co-author, but when he wrote his first version of the book, he checked with me, Ellen, you're the specialist on crowdfunding within KBC. Can you just check on it and read it and make some modifications? So I did, but in the end, I wrote 1/3 of the book. So they told me, yeah, you should become a co-author. So that's why just before my 30th anniversary, I became co-author of a book. I don't have children, but the first time that you hold it, it's like, yeah, it's a little child, I think. Omar Mohut is, by the way, also a professor at the University of Antwerp, working on entrepreneurship and startups. Some of you might know him. Very impressive guy. Also, on that job, we built, it was more like a proof of concept, but it was based on blockchain technology, and it was an application for unlisted shares that you can buy and sell. It was built on blockchain technology, and we won an innovation award with it. I have no credits on it. It's all the credits are for the IT people in the room. But I tell this because this is how I came into contact with blockchain technology, with the new technology. And a couple of years later, when I was 4 years at Bolero crowdfunding, they asked me to replace the blockchain specialist within KBC. Blockchain was really something that interested me. I really believed in it. And it was really, I just jumped and I moved into the next experience, and I joined the surf studio within KBC. So it was another move within KBC, very interesting job as well. Within the surf studio, this is the Innovation Lab of KBC, where we follow up on a lot of trends. like blockchain, like Internet of Things, like VR, artificial intelligence, but also the energy sector, the health sector. So it's not only technology driven, but it's very interesting because most of the people working within KBC are looking at today, what the clients are doing. We also built the KBC mobile app, which is a very nice app to use. And I work also now for that team. But in the Innovation Lab, we look a couple of years ahead and we look into, okay, what are we heading to? And so for blockchain, we did a couple of experiments. One of them was the banks and the notaries. You know, I told you that I had a passion for real estate, so I combined it with blockchain. And I thought it would be nice that we could use this technology to transfer real estate more efficiently. That you have the buyers, the sellers, the bank of the buyer, the bank of the seller, the notaries, the administration, because it's a lot of administration, and that you can just buy or sell houses overnight. That was the dream, with the D. And so we built a POC. We also talked with the notaries, we talked with other banks, and maybe it's the start of a consortium within Febelfin. It's still going on. But in blockchain, it takes a lot of time to establish something. So it's still going on, but I was at the very beginning there. What I also looked into was at the time that Facebook came with Libra. We are also looking into cryptocurrencies, and banks are, must not maybe say panicking, but there was a lot of attention into cryptocurrencies all of a sudden. So we had a deep look at it. I didn't know anything about cryptocurrency because I'm not an ITer, but I just studied about it and I got to learn about it. And what I learned also within IT is that we use a lot of different words, buzzwords, and all those people understand each other and no one else understands what they want to say. So if I can give you some insights, just try to understand the different words, and then there is nothing difficult about it. And try to explain it to your grandmother. That always helps. So the grandma pitch, that's also nice to do. Now, last year, one of my colleagues asked me, Ellen, what would you think to if you could subscribe to the She Goes ICT Lady of the Year award? And my first reaction was, no way, I'm not an ITer, I'm just an economic girl working in a bank, you know. But she said, yeah, but you're also always busy with new things, innovative stuff, fintech, etc. And I was thinking about what she said, and then I read in the newspaper, there is a lot of technology coming on, also for the banks. Banks are more and more, also KBC, becoming technology firms. But banking is not the only sector. It's in a lot of spaces that this transformation is going on. And I'm glad to see that within KBC, we have really good rates when you look into the number of women working in IT. But overall, it's really going bad. So I think it's good that there are some role models that show that IT is not always about coding, development. There is a lot more to do within innovation and technology within companies, even if you have no IT background yet, even if you didn't study it. Because when I was at university, what I told in the beginning, I was not really interested in in the study I did at the time. And then my aunt, who passed away already, unfortunately, she told me, Ellen, it's not important what exact study you have done, because you will learn how to study, you will learn how to focus on something, and you will learn how to arrive somewhere. And after that, you can do whatever job you want. Okay, I will not become an astronaut, I will not become a doctor, most likely, but you still have a lot of opportunities. And she was right, I must say. I still think about those words, oftenly, let's say. So I didn't win at all the contest, but I became in the top 5 of that contest. So that was nice, and I inspired already some colleagues within KBC, and I hope also other people, because that's why I'm here. And maybe just to end, I now recently started to build within KBC, this is our CEO, with our new strategy differently, the next level, and we will build within our mobile application a financial digital assistant named Kate. And I'm also working on that right now, so it's really excited to do that because it's also really innovative. It has also to do a lot with data, artificial intelligence, but also about customer experience, conversations, etc. So it's really nice to do that. And it's also really nice to see that the whole of KBC is also going into that innovative journey together, because also today we had an Innovathon, so that means that whole of the company can subscribe to have ideas, to work it out. And we had a moment that the jury decided on the best ideas, for instance. So it's really nice to see that within KBC, I really saw the evolution over the last 5 years about the innovative culture we have. So we have a lot of opportunities there. But I want to conclude with the main message of my story. Even though you don't know where you are going to, always follow your heart, always follow the things you're most interested in, and just keep going. You will have opportunities along the way. Just do it, just jump into them, even though you think up front, are you crazy? That will never go to happen. If you're motivated, if you really want to do it, you can do it, and it will arrive at the perfect time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen, for your very motivational talk. Next up is our last speaker, Davie van de Vijver, CEO of Flow Pilots. Please enjoy.
Good evening. I hope some of you are still awake. Of course, you're students, so probably used to, taking an all-nighter. I have to be honest, my Fitbit will probably say in about 10 minutes that it's almost time to go to bed and prepare. So that is how it works when you get a little bit older. Okay, I'm sorry. So you have heard already very inspiring women today, and I'm going to close up. I have to be honest, so today I had to say goodbye to one of the very strong women in my family, my grandmother. She passed away, and today was a funeral, and that is how your personal life can sometimes come together with your professional life, because I didn't want to say no to this event, so I decided to still show up and come because I know she would understand that this is what I do and this is my passion, and that I love to talk about women in tech and to, share my vision with regards to that. So for you, I don't know, yes, I am Davie van de Vijver, and I am a woman in tech. I wanted to start off with a quote that I saw a while ago on Instagram. It's by the UN Women, who said that by the age of 6, girls already consider boys to be more likely to show brilliance and more suited to really, really smart activities than their own gender. And we already know that with regards to STEM and with regards to technology, there are more men entering those fields than women, but and often I'm asked, why is it, and how can we change it? And then I take this quote because I say you cannot get women by the age of 18 when peer pressure, and when they've already been indoctrinated for a very long time that tech is not something that is for them, that then suddenly they would enter into engineering studies. If by the age of 6 girls already consider boys to be smarter, then we have lost them already. Who am I? I have studied communication science. not technology. I was actually going to study for industrial engineering, but I had, in the last 2 years of my studies in the middelbare school, it was a very male-dominated school, and the professors there sometimes also very sexistic, and they just took away all the energy and the drive that I had to go study, and so I decided that I would not enter in those fields. But I started communication science because this was the closest to what I actually wanted to do. And when I finished, and you have heard it from the other ladies as well, I just kept on studying because I wasn't finished. I didn't find that I had seen enough, so I entered in economics. I did law and economics at the university at Ghent. I studied a bachelor in graphic design in evening school because I wanted to be able to design my own communication, and then I did a lot of IT and business management courses. And it all led to the fact that I have never, ever, ever worked for a big firm. So not McKinsey, not Deloitte, not Delaware or whatever. I have always worked in a very driving startup modus. So I was working for the cabinet of the first minister when I finished school. I have always worked in a startup modus for Fortis Venturing. Already before venturing was something cool and everybody was talking about startups, I was already doing this kind of jobs. And it resulted in co-founding my own company, and that's where I'm CEO of today. It's Flow Pilots, and we make mobile applications. And it led to the fact that this year I became also ICT Woman of the Year for Data News, and it's because of the journey that we have done with Flow Pilots. But that is a little bit about me. I'm also a mom of 2 boys, and they're quite the challenge from time to time to combine it with what I like to do. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is actually about women in tech as such. Because often we are heard that technology isn't for women and that they're not interested in technology, and that the most important technological work was done by men. And so at a certain point, I am a very fond listener and also now a podcast member of the podcast Tech 45. And at a certain point, one of the guys was just saying yeah, and we went to Coder Dojo, and the girls just weren't interested, and I just think it's not for them. And I was so angry, and I called them, and I said okay, if you're going to talk about women in tech, you have to know your shit, yes? Because that's not how it went, because this is what happens. Actually, tech has always been a field where there were a lot of women. We have Ada Lovelace, invented the computer. And then we had Margaret Hamilton that got us to the moon. And then we have Grace Hopper who gave us COBOL. I mean, where are all those women? And everybody sometimes forgets history. We are born and then you go to school and then nobody thinks about who is actually writing those history books. History is written by men, and men just write women out of history. And what happened in 1983, very interesting thing, Steve Jobs made Apple and the personal computer. And it's the start of actually the decline of women in tech. And it's because of the fact that before the personal computer, women started computer sciences with the same background than men. And so the professors had to start from scratch for learning them how to compute. But by 1983, personal computer came out, and what could you do with a personal computer? It was gaming, and gaming was for men, well, for boys. Yes, it was shooting games, it was fighting games, it was car games and racing games. And yeah, so dads bought it for their boys because it was something cool, you had to do it. But 1983, if you were a woman and you were 18, you were helping in a household with your family and you were not playing. And so gradually happened is that professors started to actually assume that you had knowledge already about the computer, that you already knew a little bit how to compute and stuff like that. And so women started to enter in lesser and lesser in into computer science. And then you had also the rise of the nerds, you had the rise of the geeks, you had the whole community like behind it, and it was all inaccessible for women. And that's very important to know when we talk about women in tech, that this is what happened, and that is what we have to turn around again if we want to have more female entrepreneurs. And so it's actually like a vicious cycle, because if you have almost all leading figures are men, and you don't have, and you write out of history the female tech pioneers, and you don't have the role models for girls to look at. Yes, to see like those are the ones who already like went before us, and then you have the men hiring men policy, and the fact that they see it as a typical male branch, and then you have this evolution of IT evolving more and more in actually an IT sector. And then people ask me, yeah, but why? Why women in tech? Yes, because yeah, in the end, like, why is it so important? And it was in the beginning that I got that question. I found it a struggle, and it's interesting that then you read a lot and you like to read, and then you learn so much, and it's astonishing why we need women in tech. Because the question is not why we need women in tech, is why do we want a technology that is only built with a male gaze? Because we are not the same. We all want to have equal treatment, but we know that women and men are not the same. And the problem with that fact is that data today is all being collected with a male gaze. And in that male gaze, we forget that there is women as well. And how does it evolves then? That means that if you test for instance, medicine only on male bodies, you miss the impact of medicine on female bodies. And we saw recent research showed, for instance, that females have a cycle, and that means that our inflammatory system works completely different, which means that we actually need lesser doses of, for instance, painkillers. And it also shows that if we do not gather data that is gender divided, that you can miss patterns. Patterns, for instance, in public transport, that women often have buggies or elderlies in wheelchairs, and go on foot and go on bike, and have multi-point transport, because they go to the shop, and then they go to the schools, and then they go to work, and then they go back, and men go from home to work and from work to home. But that means that you have a total different pattern in using like public transport. And that means that if you are going to, program things, yes, that you have to take this into account, because you might miss out a whole consumer base and customer base that you're missing. And so in a world where AI is going to become so important, it would be very scary to be a woman today, because if all data that exists is all male-driven, that means that computer might say, actually, no. And the example of Amazon with regards to CVs, where they saw that they thought they were going to build an independent system to see whether that if they put in the CVs, then they would see, like the resumes, that they would have an equally divided workforce. And then they saw that the AI trained with the previous data spilled out only males, white males of about 30, with all the same degrees, of course, because the AI can only be trained with data that is available. And that's the crux in the whole training of AI, is that data of women is not available. And there have been already a lot of initiatives to actually artificially collect data, and all of them run out of funding very soon, because they're most of the time like government driven. And again, then you have the problem with governments where there are most of the times the committees that decide on tech are male. And there you go again, a vicious circle. So in that sense, I urge you all, as also the students that are looking and at this, to have this, to understand the impact of missing that female gaze in technology and how important it is to include women in tech. So how to break the pattern? Very easy and not easy at the same time. It's about education. And education, that means that we have to start not at the age of 14, of suddenly introducing somewhere in the curriculum of those boys and girls a STEM course of 2 or 3 hours a week. It means that technology and STEM should be integrated from the very first day that those kids go to school, 2.5, and they go there. And then we don't mean that we have to give them, of course, the already like electricity panels or something, but it is about the computational thinking and to let them know that they can do it and to stop and break the chain of actually gender-divided toys where you get girls to play with dolls and boys to play with cars, but to have like equal toys where they can have where the creativity to build things and to make things is going to be stimulated. And that's a firm conviction of myself. The second is female role models. You have seen already 5 awesome women today. I hope you like my speech as well, and I can be one of them. There was the initiative of the Inspiring 50. I think there are very much initiatives to show that there are a lot of women and that they have a lot of competence and they have a lot of dreams and they're awesome. And I hope we can all inspire all those young girls and women in school that they can make it. Because it's a very famous quote of a female astronaut that says, if you can't see it, you cannot be it. And that's the whole point. You have to be able to see it. And with the stories that you heard this evening, you can already see it, that you can be it. Men, we need men to understand this story as well. You are very important in breaking the chain. And why is that? You might think like, yeah, okay, but why is it important for us as well? It's because if you want to have an inclusive world, a world where everybody feels at home, a world where climate change is being actually taken upon, where we have, again, a world where we talk to each other and be honest with each other, you have to be in it as well. You have to want this too. And I would not see why you would not want this. Why would you want a world that is built on a hierarchy in men and women, and then animals, and then all the rest? It doesn't work like that. We have to have a life in harmony and all together. And if you look at it as such, then you're together an ecosystem, and that's how you have to look at this world. And then the last thing, and that's the firm thing, it's just to, again, accelerate it. It's the fact that I do believe in quota, not for the long run, but for the short term, so that you are forced to look at it or to have KPIs that actually manage this. The second is atmosphere and communication, and that is about actually in your own student environment, in your jobs, in the companies, that it's important to always have this safe sphere where you have women and men together, where you can talk to each other and to be honest about what you want, not want, to be open about how you want to be treated as well. And that's especially important when you have women in a very extreme male environment. You have to really think about it, how it would be for you if you would be in an all hostile environment yourself, where you are the only one there. Think about it, that would not be nice for you neither. So that's why communication and atmosphere is very important to include more women in tech. So for the women, instead of like having this quote of man up, I would also want to urge you to female up. In order to be woman in this world, you just have to stay a woman. It's for long. women were said, yeah, you have to sta uw manneke, be more male to actually, like, you know, get a straight back. And I think that's the most wrong advice we can get. We're women, and you have to stay a woman, and we have to be respected as women. And it's not because you like to wear makeup or you like to just dress up that means that somehow the brain cells evaporate at doing so. So that's a very important message. The second thing is that female traits are excellent leadership traits in compassion and into working together and into collaboration. That's how it works. And to make the change. And I think that we can all be a fan of Jacinda Ardern to say that, of course, she wants to rebel against this idea that in politics you have to be ego and you have to be strong and you have to be like grab him by the pussy Trump kind of guy. That's not how it works. If you want to have a world where everybody's included, where you will look at everyone, then female threats, as they say, and I say female threats, I don't say women, I say female threats, are very important to have. And so that is what I wanted to conclude with. I also, for the young girls listening, and also men, it's open for everyone, I want to give a kind a little bit commercial about the EDA Talks. Is an initiative I took with Valerie Tarwe and Nerle van Beveren, who were also two, Valerie, a young ICT lady, and Nerle also participated. And so we have this initiative because when networking, it's a networking initiative. When you're a woman and you go to these big networking events, for instance, and where it's a room filled with men, it sometimes can be very intimidating to walk into. Second of all, the question is, who are you going to talk to? And the third is, sometimes in the end of the evening, you have the feeling that you have gone to what one of my CEO colleagues called an interesting bar moment with men. That it's like, you know, we went to a bar and it was cool, we could talk to each other as well. And so we were thinking, like, how can we, help young women to do this networking thing, and also to find mentors and to have these very interesting conversations with peers, but in a sense that is safe, and in a sense where it's meaningful, where you go to, in the end of the evening, leave the room, you have something like, okay, I've learned something, and I go home with a very interesting contact, and I can contact that person again the day after and have their phone number or their email address. And so the EDA Talks is a small initiative. It's always with 20 people. We ask for 4 speakers. And so it's 50 minutes talk, and then they have 50 minutes with each of the speakers, an individual moment. And so it means that by the end of the evening, most of the time we have to like kick the people out because they just want to keep on talking, like we did this evening. But so the next event is the 15th of December, and we already have 2 awesome names. This Martin Tempels and Saskia Van Uffelen are coming as speakers. So I really would urge you to come and listen to them. So thank you very much. This was my talk to you. I hope it was very interesting. I'm very glad that if you stuck to the end, like gays and drinks on me, I would say, but unfortunately, COVID, I'm so sorry. So good evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Davie, for this last inspiring talk. I think we can all say that we've learned a lot from these 6 stories, and we really want to thank all speakers for being part of this night and making it unforgettable.
Now please give the speakers some time so they can set up their laptops so they can join the platform. After they've started their meetup sessions, you can just join these sessions. In the meantime, you can always talk to our partners through the Expo tab. They're very, very excited to meet you. Thank you.